Well, here we are at the end of the road. I've spent 3 days doing licentiates, associates, and I've ended up where I wanted to get to, which is a massive, huge congratulations to Grahame Smith, who is now a fellow of the Master Photographers Association. And those words must sound nice to Grahame. We've known each other quite a while, and I've helped him wherever I can along the way. He's entered the monthlies without fail, and his work I've seen get better and better and better. And I have to say that this panel, this fellowship panel, is what is called stunning. It is what fellowship is all about. I get asked quite a few questions from members privately, because people are too scared to go on Facebook and voice their opinions. But I get asked, what's the difference between associateship and fellowship? You talk about associateship being a level of craftsmanship, which it is. And when I asked this question myself 35 years ago when I got my first fellowship, I remember being told fellowship is the creme de la creme. A fellow has reached the pinnacle of their photographic achievements. It's when you get to the top of Mount Everest and you stand there and you look out with a sense of well-being, probably exhaustion as well, because of what you've gone through over that period of time. You go to base camp, which is your licentiateship. You start going up Everest to the other various camps along the way, because you can't do Everest or fellowship in one foul swoop. And that's exactly what Grahame has done. He has taken step by step by step all the way along the way. And I just think the final achievement that Grahame has reached is nothing short of phenomenal. It's a wonderful set of pictures, and I remember last year Grahame contacting me and saying, I've got an idea for my fellowship and I just want to run a couple of pictures by you. And he showed me a couple of photographs and I said, wow, terrific. Gave him some little bits of advice and he took it up from there. Grahame is now a fellow. He can use those logos. He can tell the world he is now a fellow of the MPA. And that is a massive achievement. And that must be within photography what we all desire to achieve. We have looked at, over 3 days, some absolutely gorgeous work. We've seen it from all different types of photographers. We've seen weddings, portraits. We've seen a whole gambit of images, and I'm lucky enough to get to see them more than most. Plus I get to see the monthlies and what goes into it. And what Grahame has put into this panel is nothing short of miraculous, because where he started from and where he's finished up has been a magnificent journey. And remember, they say that success is not the end, it's the journey that gets you there. Let's therefore go through it. Now, this is the panel of 20 images, and I'm going to leave that up there for a while I read you some comments that have come through from the judges. And I must admit, when I look at the judges' comments for licentiateship, I get the odd line of about 10 words. I might get the odd 2 or 3 lines from the judges. But in this instance, the judges have actually written a fair amount. Although one judge that has only written 10 words, a really good, well thought out and put together panel of images. And that is what comes across. You look at this panel, look at the bookends of number 1, 10, 11 and 20. They are perfect as bookends that look and lead you into the rest of the panel. Another judge, a really well thought out panel which has been executed with great skill. that is also what comes across in these images. And I think it comes across totally when you look at these 10 images. These 20 images. It's been thought out very carefully along the way. Another judge has said stunning. Maybe the half-length shots could have had a little bit more space around the model, but that is just nitpicking. And that's the problem, is when you get to a level of excellence, which this is, anything at all we say, any little words we say is going to be nitpicking, because when you've reached excellence, it's very difficult to add to it. The score, the maximum score that you can score is 525 points for a fellowship. Grahame has scored 513. That is a massively high score. Massively high score. Nobody's ever achieved 525, and I doubt if anybody ever will. And the odd point has been knocked off by the odd judge for the odd thing. And that's all it is, the odd little thing. But that as a panel is quite stunning. Another judge has said, as I looked at the images in this panel, I felt like I was out in the rain with them. And you'll see that as we go through the images individually. Very imaginative. Now that's the other thing that separates associateship to fellowship. Imagination, creativity, storytelling. Quality must be paramount. Now, I know that Grahame printed these as individual images, and his individual images were seen by the chairman of the panel and by one of the other judges, and they were looked at, and he scored a maximum on presentation. Every single judge gave him 5 for presentation. So the presentation was immaculate and was perfect, and the judges were absolutely overawed. Post-production, Grahame has scored a maximum on every single judge's score sheet. In other words, there is nothing wrong with the post-production of any of the images or the quality of the images. He has also scored nearly the maximum on lighting, and the odd point has been knocked off, which I'll explain as I go through. But to score that highly with a fellowship panel is absolutely amazing. And if I just... No, I won't. I'll end with the last judge's comment when I get to the end, because I think that will be more poignant. But if I just say that the word wow came into the sentence. So let's go through the images. The whole concept of the panel was portraits in the rain. Now, obviously, if we as individuals ever think of portraits in the rain, we might think of Gene Kelly singing in the rain, or Morecambe and Wise taking the mickey out of it. But I think when you look at these images and the concept that Grahame took into it, it is quite remarkable. But not only that, the trust that each one of these customers came in to Grahame with. Now, I said to Grahame, you can't just create a panel and go and take the pictures. They have to be commissioned. They have to be something that you want to do for customers for money, because qualifications are about commissioned images. And Grahame said, nope, I'm going to run a promotion where I'm going to ask for people, and they then will be photographed and will buy images. And every single one of them purchased images, because these people, every single one of these people, have got a portrait that nobody else has got. I would love to have been selected as one of the subjects, because I can just imagine the sort of thing that Grahame would have done. Probably more throwing a bucket of water over me with leaving the bucket on my head. But he came up with a concept and he followed it through. I can hear this man shouting. I can see the despair in this woman where she's going, oh my God. And it comes across. Everything in that picture is quite perfect. That blob of water that's coming off of her chin just is the cherry on the cake to the image. Again, a feeling of desperation. Could this be a feeling of someone being depressed with their life or what's going on in their life? Because that's the sort of thing that comes across. And when you talk about storytelling and when you talk about photographs creating emotion, you will see different emotions in different pictures and you can analyze it your own way. There's a whimsical joyness in this picture. The water running down her face. Again, the blob of water that's coming off of her chin that's just not quite touching her heart necklace, which I think is genius, and it just looks beautiful. And I look at this picture and it makes me smile. You know, she's not trying to look glamorous or anything else. She's having a portrait taken that is her. This is more a feeling of total exhaustion for me. It's the sort of thing that, you know, whatever he's just done, he's being soaked. But it's a relief in a way of being soaked and relieved and refreshed. This one has an air of angst about it. She's looking at the lens, probably a bit of disdain. One of the other things that's interesting, which again the judges get to do, is they get to read the creative portfolio. And I hope anybody that's interested will actually read Grahame's creative portfolio, because it explains an awful lot in what he did, why he did, how he did. And that will enable others to perhaps have that lovely continuation of thought of the process. Another one where you look at it and you think, is he in pain? Is he just sort of screaming, as it were, in his head at what's happened to him? And again, it's just a superb image. Another one that has the joy that's coming out from that woman. I love her t-shirt. No hate here. What a shame so many more people don't have that at the forefront of their minds before they go and attack people on social media. No hate here. That comes across in the picture. She's happy, she's joyous, she's enjoying herself, she's absorbed in the process, and it comes across as a fabulous image. It's as if she's done something and apologising for it. But a great image. I love the t-shirt that says Queen. And the funny thing is, I'm not a lover of things on t-shirts, but in this instance, I think if you can have something on a t-shirt that goes in keeping with the picture, the style, the person and what they're conveying. I mean, this hand is conveying, oops, and that comes across in the picture. And again, it works brilliantly. Another one of despair and desperation. Another one of depression, maybe. We don't know what he's gone through. We don't know what his life is. But I tell you what, this picture could be on the front cover of a magazine that's talking about homelessness or anything that is like that, where people are in despair of what their lives is giving them. And Grahame has taken people and put them into situations and created imagery that is portraying different emotions, and I think that in itself is quite remarkable. This one I think is exceptional. Again, he looks much more like a sportsman that has done something, but he's got that worry within his head. I think the way the hand is positioned, the way it's coming off the knee is excellent. Shall I be picky? And I can hear Grahame Smith going, yeah, come on, tell me what's wrong. Look at his left arm and look at the white banding between his arm and his sort of elbow area. There just seems to be that line of a little bit of post-production that perhaps you should have darkened down or looked at. And that's the only thing on one picture out of 11 that has sort of come to me that isn't perfection, yet the image itself is perfection. The way the water is again dripping off the chin, the emotion and the way he looks in his face, I just think is superb. The hand on his leg and the hand on his face are both perfect. Love it. The emotion in that is just beautiful. And what's the t-shirt say? There's 9.9% chance I'm hungry. So again, this is the sort of thing, or 99% chance I'm hungry. This is the sort of picture again that would be fantastic as a front cover for the big issue, if it's still sold. Again, it's the sort of thing that would promote, give money to charities for homelessness and things like that. Again, I think the handling of this is quite superb. The hands have so much emotion in them. The hands are just expressing what is happening within the face, and that is wonderful. Do we actually think that fag is going to stay alight? But he ain't going to take it out of his mouth for anybody. Okay, if I was taking this, I'd want the fingers to come up onto his muscles just to accentuate the strengths of his muscles. The t-shirt he is wearing is the emblem of the Punisher, who goes around punishing the bad, I think. That's what it looks like, but I could be completely wrong. And it'd be lovely to think this man did go around righting the wrongs of the world. But again, the intensity within his face, I just think is quite superb. Again, she's got the rain mac on, but we know that rain mac is really not protecting her from much. She's clasping the bottom of the rain mac with her hands, which I think is absolutely wonderful. It's fabulous, just fabulous, because it just comes across with that expression of another emotion. This one, again, it looks a little bit as if she could be a school teacher-ish because of what she's wearing. But again, the hands, the expression, the way that they've sprayed out a little bit, I think is wonderful. And again, I can hear her screaming and shouting, and it just draws me in. And that's the other thing with every single one of these pictures. And I'm trying to do this appraisal without going too far because you'll stop looking at it. But every single picture has drawn me in to want to understand who they are, what they are, and what their backstory is. And I think that's the mark of a brilliant image and a brilliant photographer. It's that backstory that comes across in a two-dimensional photograph that has been created as a three-dimensional image. He's one of those that would light up a room, isn't he? He's the wag of the pub. Come on, boys, let's get it sorted. Although these are obviously all Scottish people, so therefore they all talk a different way. We can see that he's got lots of tattoos, but Grahame has resisted from that, and he's decided that, the wet shirt look and the way it's pulling works. He could be a rugby player, with, how strong he is across the chest. But again, that look in the face and the emotion that is being drawn in, I think is quite superb. That's brave. That's very brave of the individual to stand there in his pants and be photographed. But I tell you what, that's a smashing image. I mean, that is such a smashing image. But funny enough, I wouldn't want to meet him on a dark night on the streets of Glasgow. And that's what comes across in this picture. His tattoos are not fuzzy, lovely, gentle, I love mummy tattoos. They all seem a bit more aggressive. But for an older person, he's got a pretty good physique. The pants leave something to be desired. But again, the face works and it draws me in. Now, one of the judges said the eyes look a little dead. And in a way, because of this man's intensity of look, maybe the dead eyes, is part of him scaring me and not wanting to meet him on a dark night in Glasgow, because that's, to me, what comes across in the face. It is that sort of deadness, but it's still a fabulous image that works. And this one's the opposite. And that's what's wonderful about photography. And that's why this panel is so good. It's not 20 individual images. It's 20 images that hang together, live together, balance together. And it's 20 images that flip your emotions. I mean, if you look at these and go through these again, if you sit quietly and go through them, going up and down, going from the man that scares me to the girl that you just want to have a good laugh with because she's having a good laugh. The water dripping off her nose is great. The hands is great. Everything about that is such a beautiful image of joy and excitement. And another one, you know, the joy in that woman's face, the hands coming up give you that lovely warmth of the lady. She's probably a wonderful lady and a carer with children or old people. I can just imagine that she looks after people and she's wonderful at the job she does. And again, the picture just comes across. In a monthly, we would say, oh, it's a shame what they're wearing. It sort of, you know, drags away from her. But it doesn't in this picture. It all comes together and hangs really, really well together. Again, another feeling of sadness and desperation or depression by having that gank hair just hanging down and she's just trying to squeeze off the excess water from it works. She's just getting wetter and wetter but still wants to squeeze off the water out of her hair. And again, this is so different from all of the others, yet it's in keeping with all of the others. And I just think it is an absolute treat. If you're not moved by any of those, if you're not moved by any of those images, then I'm surprised, because there must be at least one of those images that would have touched your soul at some point as you were looking at them. And as you were looking at them, maybe the odd image just brought something back to mind or a person back to mind. And that's how important these pictures are. Now, that slide is superfluous because Grahame is already an inspiration. As an associate, he's been entering the monthlies in the Inspirers category. And he has been inspiring, I know, an awful lot of people. I also know that now Grahame has reached the pinnacle of Everest. He will continue to inspire other people to come and join him at the top of Everest. That's what you do when you get to the top. You don't go off and try and get a second-rate fellowship somewhere else. You inspire others to be as great as they possibly can. Remember, the person who puts out a hand to pull somebody up with them is much better than being the person that has others standing on their shoulders. You are such an inspiration, Grahame, and an inspirer to other people, that I hope you totally continue doing it for many, many, many more years. And I think what you are going to achieve over the coming years is going to be remarkable. I'm now going to read, because you're fed up of listening to my comments, something that one of the judges put, and I don't know who it can be attributed to. He might even voice up when he listens back to this. And it says, "Sorry, but I'm still overwhelmed to know how to comment. This is one of those panels you love to face when displayed as prints. You just stand there and say, wow. Just think about wanting to create the idea in the first place is wow. It's powerful, gripping, with atmosphere and expressions. Black and white was perfect for this project, and I just wish more people could see the whole panel for real." And so do I, and we will make that happen maybe at some time in the future. maybe at some time when we have either an awards or an awards weekend or just a training weekend or whatever, these prints as a panel exist. Grahame will obviously keep it very safe, and hopefully we can display it at some point in the future. It really does give me a great deal of pride as chairman of the Master Photographers Association to welcome Grahame as a fellow. He has produced a stunning panel, and he will become a stunning fellow by what he does for others, because he's already been doing it. I hope that this has been an inspiration to each and every one of you that's looked at it. I hope that all of these webinar appraisals, licentiate, associate and fellow, have been worthwhile, and they're the sort of things that you've enjoyed and perhaps would like to see more of in the future. It's something that was forced upon us because of the virus and having to close down the photography show. But I also think that out of adversity, great things come. And I think we as the MPA have created something nobody else does, and we've done it out of adversity. Grahame, I am very proud of you. I will buy you a very big drink the next time we see each other, and I look forward to congratulating you in person.